Good evening, everybody. Just letting everybody know that we are live streaming on Facebook as well as Zoom right now. I appreciate everybody for spending some time this afternoon, this evening, to get some updates and to hear what's going on in the district. With that, I'll go ahead and share my screen and we can get this started. And if someone can let me know if they can see the screen.
You're good. We can see it.
We can see it.
We see it.
Well, as I said earlier, good evening, everybody. Thank you for spending some time with us today. This is our second quarterly town hall for District 13 for the 2020 year. Tonight, I want to recognize some special guests we have. We have Davidson County Assessor of Property, Ms. Vivian Wilhoite. We also have representatives from Public Works, Ms. Sharon Wallstrom, Ms. Sharon Smith, Mr. John Honeysucker, and from the Metro Planning Department, Mr. Greg Claxton. I'm also going to give some updates about some legislative matters and any upcoming events that we have. And then I will turn the floor over to our guests so they can give us some presentations about this year's property assessment and differences between USD and GSD. Now, last quarter, I sponsored or co-sponsored a total of 30 bills that range from honorary and memorial resolutions, such as recognizing the Fisk Jubilee Singers for winning their Grammy Award this past month. Other bills and resolutions that provided support to District 13's Metro Animal Care Control. Other topics were ensuring diversity on our Metro boards and commissions, so that just like our Metro Council, our other boards and commissions match up the diversity we have in our great city as well. And as a member of the LGBTQ community and of the Metro Caucus, I was pleased to see that our bill recognized or renaming a portion of the street behind Trax Bar into Bianco Page Way. Now, some upcoming events that you might want to put on your calendars. This next Wednesday, I'll be facilitating a community meeting with residents of the Pleasant Hill Road area and Pinkham Holdings on a request to rezone property located behind the Whitsett Baptist Church into a residential community. This Saturday is my monthly office hours. So if you'd like to chat, you can let me know by sending me an email to russ.bradford@nashville.gov, letting me know which time you would like to speak between 8 and 11 a.m. this Saturday. And lastly, on May 1st, Woodland Point is hosting their annual community yard sale. You can see the dates and times on the screen. I'm sure that our neighbors in Woodland Point would love for you to come out and look at what they have and maybe take some of this stuff off their hands. Another big announcement, if you've not already heard the news, but Slow Streets is coming to District 13. Walk Bike Nashville is teaming up with Metro Public Works to offer more slow streets this spring. 15 locations were chosen out of a round of 70 applications received from local residents and groups. Nashville, like many US cities, started a Slow Streets program in 2020 in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2020, Nashville had 21 miles of slow streets during the spring and the fall. A slow street or soft road closure is a street where through traffic is discouraged with barricades and signage. Local traffic, including delivery trucks and transit services, are still permitted to use the streets, and on-street parking is maintained. Slow streets are designed to address neighbors' concerns about speeding, to open up streets for recreation, and to relieve overcrowding in parks and other spaces. Slow streets give more people more convenient spaces to get outside, to play, and to exercise. Now, Walk Bike Nashville and Metro Public Works are collecting resident feedbacks on the Slow Streets program. You can fill out the survey at the link that's on your screen, and they encourage all residents to submit their responses. Now, this program will be taking place between April 19th and May 17th. You can see right here, the street highlighted in red. It's Harborwood Drive and Harborwood Circle. So again, congratulations to that community for being selected as a slow street. I also want to bring everybody's attention to the next month's Conference for Neighborhoods, Nashville 2021. This is presented by Neighbor to Neighbor, formerly the Neighborhood Resource Center. They're offering virtual workshops this year that are facilitated conversations, panel discussions, and presentations focused on 8 key neighborhood passions. So I encourage you, if you're interested in learning more about what you can do for your neighborhood or what you can do for your community, to sign up for one of these events. And you can go to their website, tnrc.net, to register. Now, every 4 years, our property values are reassessed to determine how much we should be paying in property taxes. This year is one of those years. So I thought it was only fitting that I invite the Davidson County Property Assessor, Ms. Vivian Wilhoite, to talk to us a little bit about the process and answer any questions y'all may have. Now, a little background. Ms. Wilhoite is a fellow Mississippi expat like myself. She came to Nashville to attend Tennessee State University, and upon graduation, she started her professional career as a real estate appraiser at the Tennessee Regulatory Authority, formerly known as the Tennessee Public Service Commission. In 2003, she ran and was elected to serve on the Metro Council to represent District 29, our neighbor to the south. She was re-elected in 2007. And then in August, she took the oath of office, August 2016 rather, she took the oath of office to be our next property assessor. In doing so, she became the first African-American to hold the position of assessor of property in the history of Davidson County. Ms. Wilhoite, I thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to speak to us tonight. And with that, I'll go ahead and hand the floor over to you.
Hello, and thank you, Councilmember Bradford, and for inviting me to this amazing community meeting. I love the information you've provided. It's absolutely awesome. I have a lot of information to share, and I hope that everyone have seen the chat box. Do you see what I said? Yay, Mississippi rocks in Tennessee. That's for Councilmember Bradford and me. How about that? Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Bear with me, because we have lots of information here that we want to share. So I want, without further ado, bam. Okay. All right. Here we go. My show. Okay. So yes, as Councilmember Bradford has stated, this is the year of the reappraisal. It is huge. Nashville's growing, or Nashville has grown. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But before we do that, I'm going to do one of my favorite things, and that's share this joke with you that my staff, especially Randy Ward, who's going to talk with you shortly, hates, but it's so funny. So this is how your house is seen by yourself. This is how your house is seen by your buyer. This is how your house is seen by your lender. This is how your house is seen by your appraiser. And this is the one that's really wrong. This is how your house is seen by the assessor. Not, absolutely not. Listen, the truth about assessors is that we don't set the menu, we don't set the prices. We just want to be fair. So whatever you order is just whatever you order according to what your needs are. So that's kind of like how the mass appraisal is done. Why do we reappraise? Well, we're obligated every 4 years, that's proved by the State Board of Equalization, to appraise in this year. Last appraisal was in 2017. Once we finish one reappraisal, we start immediately on the next one, because it's very impossible to get all 260,000 properties visualized, visual inspection.
Ms. Wilhoite, sorry to interrupt. We can't see your screen. We still see you. We just can't see your screen.
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive me. Hold on. Okay, I'm having some problems here. Escape. Where's my-
Go back to the Zoom meeting and share your screen.
Escape. Share screen. Okay, there it is.
Now pick PowerPoint.
Where is it? I don't see it.
Upper left.
Here?
Is that it?
Okay.
No.
Mm-mm.
Scroll down up.
I don't see the PowerPoint. Basic, advanced. There's my screen. There's my PowerPoint. Do you not see my screen now?
No, we still see you.
Wow. Share screen. Bam. I'm not seeing my screen.
Take the PowerPoint out of the preview mode.
And where would I do that?
Open up PowerPoint.
You want to do it? You want to try?
Where is it open?
PowerPoint is open. There's PowerPoint. I'm on.
Okay, go to your presentation.
There's my presentation.
Okay, and start it. But don't turn on preview.
When you say start it,
Start the presentation.
right here,
Slideshow.
slideshow from the beginning, there.
Okay. Now go, can you go back to the?
Can you see my screen?
No.
Can you see?
No.
Okay, go back to the PowerPoint, I'm sorry, to the Zoom.
Okay, out. I'm at the
But
Zoom.
But you keep closing PowerPoint. Don't close PowerPoint.
Okay, do not close it. Keep it open.
Yes.
Okay,
Now go to the Zoom meeting.
okay. I'm going to minimize here.
Yeah.
Go to Zoom meeting. Here I am.
Okay.
Share screen.
Now the PowerPoint.
Ah, okay. Sorry about that.
No problem.
Okay, now we're set.
Now
Okay,
Start the slideshow.
right here. Slideshow, the beginning. Okay, thank you. I apologize. Thank you for letting me know that. So here we are. As I stated before, a lot of information. And like I said, we're starting with a little joke here. This is your house as seen by yourself. This is your house as seen by the buyer. This is your house as seen by your lender. This is your house as seen by your appraiser. This is not your house as seen by the assessor. So don't think along that line. The truth of the matter is that as assessors, we don't set the menu. We don't set the price. We just want to be fair. So why do we appraise? As Councilmember Bradford has already explained, every 4 years, there's a reappraisal. The last reappraisal was in 2017, and our 4-year plan is approved by the State Board of Equalization. We have to start an appraisal immediately, the next reappraisal, immediately after we finish one of them, because it takes a very long time to look at 260,000 parcels. Well, back in 2017, we had 254,000 parcels of that amount. And you can tell since the last 4 years, our national Davidson County has grown. In the 4th year is when the value models are calibrated and analyzed. Another reason why we reappraise is that since the last reappraisal, market values have not changed, at least not uniformly across the county. And so what the reappraisal does is it restores the value. And if we didn't do this, without it, in a cold market or depressed market, someone, a property owner, would be paying more than their fair share. So how do we reappraise? So I like to always tell people, we don't do swags. I'm gonna let you fill in the blank. We don't do swags. Some, wild, guess. That's exactly right. We have best practices that we follow, such as analyzing the sales data in our market. That is something that's really, really crucial. The state is very much of a governing body to ensure that our sales data is correct. We also use cost, income, and market approaches to value. One that's probably most familiar to every one of you, if you have a home, is the sales approach, of course. And that's when you're doing comparative to properties that have sold that's similar to yours. And we also comply with the Uniform Standard of Professional Appraisal Practices, which is USPAPS, as well as our governing body, the State Board of Equalization. All that
You muted yourself, Ms. Wilhoite.
We can't hear you.
There we go.
Okay, now I'll get you back.
I'm back.
Okay. I don't know why this is happening now.
But I think when you escaped earlier. it
When I escaped,
out,
exactly.
Took that out.
Okay. Okay, now, this is not going good. What is going on here? Escape. Here. Okay. Okay, we're back at the slide where we were. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yep, loud and clear.
Okay,
Yes.
very good. Thank you, thank you. Now, this is something that's very important that people must understand when it comes to being called the tax assessor versus the assessor of property. We are not the tax assessor, we are the assessor of property. It is already laid out in this wonderful framework right here in our state constitution that establishes the ad valorem tax system. On the left side, or from your right side, you see the assessment function. That would be the assessor of property. We identify, list, appraise, classify all taxable property in order to achieve value and equity and prepare the annual tax roll that we roll over to the county trustee. Of course, this is based on our 4-year cycle for reappraisal approved by the State Board of Equalization. On the right side, which is your left side, the taxation function is assigned to the county and city legislative body. What happens is that the city mayor, along with Council Member Bradford and his other colleagues, present an annual budget to the county legislative body, which is them. The mayor presents the budget to the legislative body, and they set what is called a tax rate. That's going to happen again this year, and we'll talk about that. That tax rate is then applied to the assessment roll, which is our values from this office, that is then rolled over to the county trustee, who takes that tax rate that has been established by the mayor and or the Metro Council, applied to our values, and you get a tax bill that is mailed, and they also collect the taxes. So the tax assessors is really the mayor and or the Metro Council. We're the property assessor that provides you with the value. Keep that in mind. I used to be a tax assessor when I was on the Metro Council. Now, there's a responsibility of our office, as I stated before, and this is our responsibility. We identify, we list, classify, appraise all taxable properties in order to achieve fairness and equity and values to prepare the annual assessment roll in a timely manner. So remember, we do not evaluate, we evaluate, we do not taxate. The assessor of property or the property assessor is not called the tax assessor. But look at the classifications of properties that we look at going through the over the 4-year period. Commercial, industrial, personalty accounts, which is where people who have businesses that may or may not own their the real property, and of course, residential and farm. Reappraisal is not designed to raise revenue. Listen, we're not trying to stick it to you when it comes to doing the reappraisal. Why? Because the law says that in a reappraisal year, a certified tax rate must be set to prevent the local government from realizing a windfall of added revenue on existing construction due to the reappraisal. So it requires that a tax rate has to be adjusted. What we've been seeing in the past years is usually downward, but it must produce the same amount of revenue as the previous year. That is what the CTR does, and it prevents a windfall of revenue on existing construction. This is a great example in reference to how the CTR affects the reappraisal. I have here with me my manager of the residential division, Randy Ward. You can't see him now, you'll see him shortly, but he's going to go through this part of the presentation.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so in this example, We have houses that were valued at $250,000. You see the green, blue, and red homes here. And that was for the 2017 reappraisal. They remained at $250,000 for 4 years. That's how the reappraisal works, because nothing changed on the homes. If they had had rehabs or something, the value would have changed. If there would have been a demolition to a portion of the property, the value would have changed. All three stayed the same. And in 2020, when the tax rate went up to 4.221, each one was paying $2,638. You'll see where, and again, this is only an example, where in 2021, we had an example increase of 35%. Because of that 35% increase, the certified tax rate went to 3.127. The tax rate went down, so we do not generate any more money on existing construction. You can see the greenhouse, it went up from 250 to 300,000, which was only 20%. Because it only went up 20%, the taxes were less for 2021. The blue house went up 35% from 250,000 to 337.5. That 35% again is the countywide average. Because it's the countywide average, the tax amount would be identical for as it was in the previous year, not generating any more money because it was the countywide average. The red home went up 50% to 375,000. Because it did go up over the countywide, above the countywide average, the taxes did go up somewhat. You can see they went up $293. At the bottom there, you can see $750,000 was the total appraised amount for the three homes in 2020, when the tax rate was 4.221. In 21, everything went up to, and you added them up, and it went up to $1,012,500, which is up 35%. We generate the same amount of money, $79.14, as we did in 2020. Again, the CTR is set so that you do not generate any more money on existing construction. So the only way that if you had a 35% increase in on your home, which is the countywide average, the only way that would you would pay more taxes for the year is if the council and the mayor raised the tax rate for that year. Thank you.
Perfect. And so that gives you an idea where the certified tax rate falls within a reappraisal year. Once again, the certified tax rate is revenue neutral. It is not designed to raise revenue in a reappraisal year. It is against the law for the revenue to increase as a windfall as a result of the reappraisal. So the certified tax rate is something that is to come. I'm sure that Councilmember Bradford is going to tell you more about that as we get closer. And it will be a decision of the mayor and the Metro Council in reference to whether they're going to raise the tax above the certified tax rate. This is just a 2020 summary of assessment and reflection, and it just gives you an idea of where our assessment, our total assessment values were in which area and in which class. So what do we know about the 2021 reappraisal? Right now, it's not complete. We're looking forward to coming to an end this week, of course, and of course, getting ready to look at all of our numbers to prepare for mailing. So please know that the 2021 reappraisal is 90% complete. We're about to get there. Mailing new values to property owners will be done by mid to late April of 2021, which basically the date is April the 23rd. Know this, residential values are strong, okay? What we're seeing is that the commercial sectors like apartments and industrial sectors are doing very well. As you already know from some of the readings that you've seen in the paper, $6 to $9 billion in 2020 permits are record breaking. Nashville market is strong. When we look back and reflect on 2017, the 2017 reappraisal showed that there was a 37% median appraisal percent increase. That was the largest increase in value in Davidson County's history. The 2017 reappraisal, for the first time in that moment, the commercial assessed value outpaced the residential assessed value, thereby shifting the tax burden. That has been the first time it's ever been done since 2000. And the years of 2009, 2017, and 2005, respectively, were the highest years for formal appeals. We would like to say that, the reason why 2017 wasn't as high as all of the other years is because of opportunities like this. getting with you, sharing with you about how the reappraisal works, being transparent in how we arrive at value, and letting you know that you have the right to appeal your value, your property values. You have that right every year. So let's go to that topic. The first step in appealing your value after you receive your value in the mail on or about April the 23rd is the informal review. This is where you will be able to contact us by May 21st, 2021 by 4 p.m. Remember, people, 4 p.m. Not 4:01, not 4:02, not 4:05. 4 p.m. Dog ate your mail is not going to fly. Okay, so you can skip the informal review if you like, and you can file directly to the Independent Board of Equalization. But we want to give you that opportunity. In order to file your informal review, the best way to do it is by filing it online at www.padctn.org or call our office at 615-862-6059. Our staff will be very happy to file your informal review for you. The informal review must be provided to us by the end of May 2021. Excuse me, your decision will be provided to you by the end of May. And if you disagree with that informal review, you will have the opportunity to file your formal appeal. That is where the rubber meets the road. Why do I say that? It's because that is where you're going before the Metro Board of Equalization. Let me repeat that. You're going to go before the independent Metro Board of Equalization because that board is independent from our office. They make their own decisions. I know that maybe in the past you thought that the Metro Board of Equalization was an extension of this office. It is not. Its members are appointed by the mayor and they are confirmed by the council and they make their own decision. So starting May 24th, you'll be able to schedule your appeal to the Independent Metro Board of Equalization. The deadline to file that formal appeal will be June the 18th, 2021. Now, after the Metro Board of Equalization adjourns all their meeting, because they'll begin on June the 1st, and they'll go through and receive all of the appeals, whether it's before them, the board, or their hearing officers, which is an individual person that is an extension of the board, you will get their decision in the mail. And that decision is going to give you 45 days to appeal to the State Board of Equalization. That is if you disagree with the Metro Board of Equalization. Also in the formal appeal, you want to remember this. The State Board of Equalization, which is the next step, they set their own timeline of settling appeals before them. And if you fail to appear before the Metro Board of Equalization or the State Board of Equalization, you may lose your appeal rights for this year. So you have the opportunity to do it again, and that will be next year. The property owner can appeal every year. You know, Davidson County has been resilient. We've gone through a lot of challenges over the past year and a half. We had the March 2020 tornado. We had the COVID-19 pandemic that is continuously challenging us every day. We woke up to a Christmas Day bombing, which was not the best gift in the world, no doubt about that. And of course, we had recently the February 21st ice storm, as well as the flooding. There are tools in the toolbox of business owners that they can use in reference to property valuation in a post-damage status. We have the Tennessee Co annotated 675-603, and we have the Tennessee Co annotated 675-606. 67-5603 authorizes me and my office to be able to assess the value of damaged residential, commercial, industrial properties based upon its condition after, and I have tornado there, but it should be after the inclement event, provided the property is not restored or replaced by September 1. Now, for those who may, for their personalties, those are the things that a person uses in order to operate their business. Then we also have the authority to prorate the assessment of your personal property value for the portion of the year prior to the date of destruction of substantial damage. So it's very important that you understand and know that if your property is not habitable or operative by September 1, we have the authority to adjust your value, and we can do those adjustment of values the same to your personality. So what's next? On or before April 19th, property owners should expect their new market values in the mail. And guess what? You'll be able to get that value online. We've done some reassessment, and that date will be April the 23rd. So please make a note of that. April the 23rd, since I've done my last presentation it is April the 23rd, and you should expect your market value in the mail, and you'll be able to go online to see your value, your new market value. One of the things that Nashville loves is our heat map. We plan to release that heat map first in the first week of May, and it's going to either show the medium or the actual percentage increase on commercial and residential properties. So that's a very fun words. A picture means 1,000 words type of map. Please know that May 21st by 4 p.m. Remember that it's going to be the deadline for you to file your informed review. May 24th to June 18th would be the filing period to file your formal appeal to the Independent Board of Equalization. And the commercial property owners, of course, you can file directly your formal appeal straight to the Independent State Board of Equalization by the deadline of June the 18th, 2021, thereby skipping the informal and Independent Metro Board of Equalization formal appeal steps. Councilmember Russ Bradford, thank you so much to you, the District 13 residents, as well as the Facebook Live residents. We thank you and we look forward to providing you with a product that you can trust. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilhoite, for that very
pleasure.
informative presentation. You know what you're talking about, and I enjoyed this presentation when I first had it after the election or during the election. And so I knew this would be a great opportunity to provide that same information to our constituents. So with that, if anybody has any questions, you can put it if you're on Zoom, you can put it in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook, go ahead and put it in the comments section, and we'll get to those questions. In the meantime, while we're waiting for those questions come in, if Ms. Wilhoite's willing to wait a little while, we'll move on to the next presentation.
Absolutely.
And so one of the questions I kept getting a lot, both during the campaign and this last year, and especially during the budget season, was what's the deal with why some people in the neighborhood get trash and recycling and others have to pay privately? And why some areas have sidewalks and others don't. So I planned on having this discussion in person, but then COVID-19 hit. And so I've decided now would be a good time leading into this next budget conversation to get the experts to come out and talk about what is the USD or Urban Service District and what's the GSD, the General Service District, and what are the differences and how are they similar, and how can someone in the GSD move over to the USD. So as I stated earlier, I've got Mr. Greg Claxton from Metro Planning, and I've got Ms. Sharon Wallstrom and Sharon Smith from Public Works. They're going to spend some time this evening and provide some education on the topic. And I've made both Mr. Claxton and Ms. Wallstrom and Ms. Smith co-hosts. So if y'all need to share your screens for any presentations, you're more than welcome to. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilmember. Sharon, did you want to, I think you had the final presentation. Do you want to share your screen and I'll just let you know when to move? Okay. And I'd also wanted to say I'm joined by Van Simone Holder tonight on my team in Metro Planning. So the two of us work in what we call the Advanced Planning and Research Division. A lot of what we do is overseeing the capital improvements budget every year, but we're also taking on overseeing urban service district expansions. Slide. So I'm going to do a brief introduction about what the USD is, what the GSD is, and a little bit about the process to expand it. And then Sharon will talk through the public works aspects of that in a little bit more detail. So the two service districts, the general services and urban services, go back to the original merger of the city of Nashville with Davidson County. The Metro Charter at that time established the two service districts. And at that time, they were aligned to the historic city of Nashville city boundaries with the remainder of the county. The historic city of Nashville is being the urban services district, and the remainder of the county being the general services district. The charter outlines a process for expanding the area of the USD when areas of the GSD are in need of urban services and when Metro can provide such services. I'll talk through that process a little bit more in a moment. Slide. One more time. Oh, huh. That's weird. Okay, so this is a map of almost all of the USD. There was a recent expansion in the northern part of the county in December of this year that's not included here. But essentially what this shows is how the USD has changed and expanded over time. You can see in the darkest blue where the original city of Nashville boundaries were, then kind of how that grew in the 1970s, the 1980s, a little bit in the 2000s, and then some in the 2010s. And then, like I said, there's a portion just off Dickerson Pike that we have now expanded in the 2020s. Slide. So formally, the expansion process kind of has two steps. The first is a public hearing at Planning Commission, where the Planning Commission considers a plan of services that would accompany a USD expansion and makes a recommendation to the Metro Council. Then once it's at Metro Council, it goes through a standard ordinance process of 3 readings, with the second reading being a public hearing. Slide. So this is built around kind of what the plan of services, and what the charter does is it outlines sort of what it considers to be urban services. The key things that it discusses are things like street lights, trash collection, fire and police protection, water, sanitary and storm sewers, and alcoholic beverage supervision. So when considering expanding the USD, once we have an area that is being proposed, Metro prepares a plan of how the Metro government would provide the required services and pay for them over time. That amounts to kind of going through this list and seeing which of these are not being provided now that would need to be provided, and then sort of looking at how that compares to the additional increment of tax that the USD brings in. The timeline of how this works is within a given year, such as I'll take the example from Dickerson Pike, that went through Planning Commission and was adopted by Council in November and December of 2020. So when the calendar changed over to January 1st of 2021, that area was then considered annexed into the USD. At some point later that year, typically in October, is when the taxes are actually collected for that year. And then once taxes are collected, once you pay your tax bill for the first time at the USD rate, services are required to begin 1 year after that additional tax, after you paid that additional tax. Slide. Generally, the factors that we look at when we consider expanding the urban services district are what's the existing development pattern? Like if you've got an area that has already converted from very large lot and rural to a subdivision, commercial areas that are suburban in character, that have more of the intensity of sort of people living there that you would expect in an urban or a suburban area. We also look at areas that have been zoned to develop that way. So do you have like an RS zoning, like RS10, single family residential for 10,000 square foot lots, or versus are you zoned for agricultural uses such as AR2A? Are there areas that are predominantly served by utilities such as water and sewer already, or in service areas for police and fire? Over the decades, both water and sewer and police and fire have equalized a lot in terms of how they serve the USD and the GSD. So those are, things that we check on, but they're a lot closer now than they were at the time of the charter first being adopted. And then also we look at kind of our own land use policies that we establish through the general plan called Nashville Next, or community plans such as Antioch Priest Lake or Donaldson Hermitage Old Hickory. Slide. Generally, we're not looking to expand the USD into areas that are very low density currently and have a policy, a land use policy that recommends keeping the area low density, such as a rural character policy. We also would not expand the USD to satellite cities such as Belmead or Forest Hills. Their independent city status performs the function that the USD does. Slide. And then last, a couple other differences between the two tax districts. Liquor stores are allowed in the USD with, depending on the zoning and other ordinances. Firearms cannot be discharged in the USD except for specific areas. Certain agricultural activities are permitted in the GSD, again, and with certain characteristics. And then sidewalks are required on local streets for new multifamily or commercial development or for significant improvements to multifamily or commercial properties within the USD. And then I think the last slide before I hand it over is just, I believe the area we were asked to show kind of how the USD in beige relates to the general services district only in gray in this particular area. If there's interest, we can explore what an expansion would look like there, or if there's another part, Councilmember, I'm happy to prepare another map. And with that, I will pass it over to Sharon Wallstrom.
Okay, I'm going to let Sharon Smith continue with this section of the presentation, and then I'll finish up with street lighting.
Thank you, Sharon. My name is Sharon Smith, and I'm going to talk about my favorite subject, which is trash and recycling. When and if an area is annexed into the urban service district, trash and recycling is one of the services that is offered to residents. And the next few slides will sort of walk through what the criteria is to qualify. Let's go to the next slide. So a newly annexed area, and in all areas of Nashville that are part of the urban service district, Metro Public Works will provide a one trash cart to single family homes and multifamily homes with 4 attached units or less. So for example, if you're in a quadplex, you've got 4 units in one building, you would get a trash cart. If you're a townhome community with multiple attached units, you would not qualify for cart collection. You qualify for a different kind of collection. So single family homes and multifamily homes with 4 attached units or less qualify for curbside trash collection. Residents that want to have additional carts can purchase an additional cart at $65. I strongly recommend that everybody recycle. So you will only need 1 trash cart, and Metro will provide weekly trash collection and monthly recycling. I'll talk more about recycling in a minute. So weekly trash collection is usually curbside. If by chance your area is adjacent to current Metro alley routes, which I don't believe there are any alley route areas in District 13, then you would qualify for alley collection. If it's not contiguous and trucks would have to go way out of the way, then you only have curbside collection. Private roads, as you can imagine, can be an issue. And so we have to, first of all, look at the area to make sure the streets are wide enough for our automated collection vehicles. Usually that's not a problem, but then we must have an active homeowners association that can sign a waiver releasing Metro from liability so that we don't get sued if there ends up being a pothole or something like that. That those roads are all managed by the HOA and not Metro, so waivers required. So the flip side is where you are now, you are paying for trash collection. And after an annexation, trash collection, weekly curbside trash collection would be provided. Let's go to the next slide. So when you have trash collection, and this is a little different depending on who your private haulers are, Metro does require that everything be in the cart. And you may wonder, why does everything have to be in the cart? Well, some of that is actually a public health issue. Loose garbage or bags of garbage sitting out of the cart can easily be broken into, and you really need to have everything bagged and inside the cart. We start collection at 7 a.m. So carts have to be out at 7 a.m. If you put your cart out at 8 o'clock and the trucks have already gone down the street, they are not coming back. And that's pretty much standard for most trash collection in Nashville. Some materials we ask people to not put in carts are yard waste. Everybody currently has a separate yard waste collection. Most of you probably have brush collection. You are not allowed to put cardboard in there. Please, I beg you, do not put construction debris in there. Sometimes people fill their carts up with bricks and our trucks can't pick them up. So then we have to bypass it. You got to take all the bricks out and then we can come back. So no construction debris, and electronic waste is also not allowed. So yard waste, cardboard, and electronic waste are prohibited from waste containers per Metro Code. Those items are banned from trash containers and must be set out differently for collection. Excellent. Next slide. Recycling. This is the good stuff. So where you live now, your hauler is actually required to have a recycling collection that you can sign up for. A lot of people don't sign up for it because it is usually at an extra cost. Part of Urban Service District Public Works Services include monthly curbside recycling collection. In that case, once again, Metro will provide one recycling cart to single-family homes and multifamily homes of 4 attached units or less on a Metro-maintained streets. You can request additional recycling carts and there's no fee because we really want people to recycle. So one cart comes with you, one trash cart, one recycling cart. If you want 2 trash carts, you've got to pay a fee. If you want 2 recycling carts like I have at home, we will provide more to you. Recycling is once a month. And once again, unless you have alleys that are contiguous to other Metro alley routes, you're going to be putting your cart out on the street. If it is a private street, just like trash, we look at it, we determine if we can get our automated trucks down the street, and we require that there be a homeowners association to sign a waiver granting Metro access to the streets. And just like with trash, in the General Service District, if you want recycling, you've got to pay an extra fee. In the Urban Service District, residents with trash collection, with curbside trash collection, also qualify for curbside recycling collection, and there is no extra cost. Let's go to the next slide. So what can you put in your cart? My second favorite subject. You can put plastic bottles, jars, and jugs. There's only certain types of material. Your cart, your recycling cart, will come with a decal on it in English and Spanish, explaining what can go in the carts. So no yogurt tubs. There's nobody that wants to buy that type of material. And actually, if anybody is interested in a deep dive into recycling, we offer webinars on how to recycle right in Nashville that are very interesting. If you go to recycle.nashville.gov, you can also get more information on what goes in your cart, and you can get a link to download an app for your smartphone where you can search for any type of material, anything. You can look up plastic bottles, or you can look up dead animals, and it will tell you how to dispose of or recycle all that material. So plastic bottles, jars, and jugs, food and beverage cans, cardboard, and then paper and cartons are the items that we can accept. And that's the vast majority of what people have at home. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so what about people that are in multifamily units with more than 4 attached units? Well, you can qualify for weekly dumpster trash collection. And chances are you may already have that at your apartment or condo complex. If there are any mobile home parks out there. The only difference is with dumpster collection, you do have to get your own dumpster. You can purchase one from a private company. Some places lease them, but a lot of people just purchase their own dumpster because it's a one-time fee. And Metro will come in once a week and pick up your trash. There is some specifications on the dumpster pad that Metro will provide, but the dumpster pad specifications have been part of the Public Works Development Review process for way over a decade. So most multifamily complexes, unless they're very old, already have a dumpster pad that meets these specifications. Once again, the HOA or the property management company will sign a waiver giving us access. And the difference, of course, being that your HOA fees, if you're in a condo, or part of your apartment rental fee is covering trash collection, that would change after an annexation. Next slide, please. Oh, and now we will move on to the other Sharon.
Okay. Last but not least, one of the big changes in the difference between GSD and USD is street lighting. So Public Works has a partnership with NES, and we will provide street lights in the USD approximately every 400 feet. This also includes intersections and cul-de-sacs. So don't worry that the light's going to be outside your cul-de-sac because it's not 400 feet within the distance. Another thing that we need to remind everyone of is that the street lights that Public Works will install along with NES are going to be on wooden poles, and they have above ground wiring. So if you're in a private HOA neighborhood and you already have street lights up that have underground wiring, Public Works will not come in and add anything else. If you want them to add something, you need to realize they're going to be above ground on wooden poles with above ground wiring. Metro will pay for the electric usage on all streetlights, regardless of the pole types. So if you're paying your HOA fee as part of the electricity for those streetlights, Public Works and Metro will come in and cover that. And I already talked about if they're already present in your neighborhood. If the streetlights in your neighborhood are on wooden poles with above ground wiring, then we will cover the cost of maintenance and we will cover the cost of the electricity. But again, if there's specialty lighting, the HOA will still have to cover the maintenance on the specialty lighting. So the final thing that we have to say is that streetlights do make the neighborhood safer for walking and driving, and they can help reduce and monitor unwanted activities at night. So that gives you a very good idea of the difference between GSD and USD and the types of services that are provided. And so if you have any questions about that, we are available to answer those. You can call the hub and they can answer many questions for you, or they can connect you to one of us.
Thank y'all so much for the presentation and the information about the general services, the urban services, the history, the background, the process. And just to clarify, this presentation was not an attempt to go ahead and push a annexation. It's just, I've received so many questions over the last year and a half about the process, about the differences between the two areas, about the street lights, about the trash. So I felt it was important to go ahead and provide that information so that if there are individuals or in the community that would like to start the process or at least start the conversation to go towards annexation, we can start that and have an educated background to it. So again, I appreciate Ms. Wallstrom, Ms. Smith, Mr. Claxton for providing this information to us. And so with that, I will go ahead and open the floor to questions for either Public Works, Planning, or for the Assessor's Office, or for myself. You can put those in the chat or in the comments section on Facebook. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and check to see if there's any questions. I see none on Facebook. I saw a couple in the chat on Zoom. Let me see if I can get to those. Let's see. No questions, just a couple of comments. So with that, I want to thank everybody for their time this evening, and especially thanks to our special guests for this quarter, Ms. Vivian Wilhoite, our property assessor, Mr. Greg Claxton from Metro Planning, and Ms. Sharon Wallstrom, Sharon Smith, and Mr. John Honeysucker from Public Works for taking time out of their schedules to come provide information for us. Again, if anybody has any questions or would like to get in contact with myself, you can reach me at russ.bradford@nashville.gov. You can leave a voicemail, call me on my cell phone, or send me a letter. The contact information is on the screen. If you have any questions for any of our guests tonight, you can either email me and I can get those questions directly to them, or if they would like to put their information in the chat, they can do so at this time. Oh, there is one last question I did see. Would being in the urban services district give Hermitage Precinct more ability to intervene? Anybody from Public Works able to answer that, or is that a question for Metro PD?
I believe that's going to be a question for the Metro Police Department.
Okay. So I will reach out to the Hermitage Precinct and I can get that information for you, Debbie and Ms. Dooley. All right, one last call for questions. Well, again, thank you, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself or to anyone on this call.
Thank you, Russ.
Y'all have a good evening. Good night.
Bye.